So at the last national elections, I voted for the Economic Freedom Fighters.
Yeah.
I was and I still am a fan of Julius Malema.
Yeah.
Contrary to what people think of me on social media, it's fine. Julius Ife, to the type of energy and fire he brought at the ANC Youth League, is something that our generation hadn't seen. Because a lot of us were born towards the end of apartheid. We heard stories of Mandela, and a lot of those guys had been jailed, to be fully honest. They only were released more 1990 and those times. So then we got to see them and we saw old people. So in our generation, from that point, we've had youth league presidents. Fikile Mbalula, Malusi Kikaba, who was looking promising at some point. I can't think of others. Ronald Lamu, he was never a youth league president, but he was a leader there. And then Lomchidate Bembizango Oros, I'm not sure of his name.
Popompo.
I think he's lost weight as well, so shout out to him. Batu Julius, the fire inspired so many of us to be brave as young people, even speaking to our own elders.
Yeah. When
he was called disrespectful, and it's like, I'm not disrespectful. You guys promised us these things, and now you're not delivering, and you want them.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And when he set up the EFF, it was a great move. It was a sad move because the ANC expelled a loyal servant who was just fighting for the things that they'd promised them: nationalization, free education, and those kind of things. The other reason I voted for the EFF is because around that same time, many of us were saying, to this day, we need young people in parliament.
Yeah.
And they were the only party that I saw that was aggressively saying, we will put young people in parliament.
Yeah.
And at the elections before that, they started bringing young people. And I was like, I can see them doing it. I want young people, so I'm going to give them more votes to bring in more young people. And if you look at what the EFF did in parliament, they made parliament worth watching. I don't think any
went into politics
party had ever gotten us to understand things like point of order, in hindsight, honorable mem. We literally watched as if we're watching anything else, and we got to learn. And we also got to see some of the rubbish.
Yes, citizens got now interested in actual politics.
Yes.
It may not be at the highest level, but they could tune in to hear, like, what is the EFF going to say? Because even if you're tuning in...
Substantive motion.
Even if you tune in for 6 hours and you get something in 30 minutes, it hits you. Because now you're like, okay, this is politics. Like, why must they dress like this?
Sure.
There's no legislature or any law that says you must dress like
a certain
like
way.
this. Yeah,
they came there with their overalls
they're like,
and their domestic work outfits.
Because now it's almost like you're starting to... People are now getting this education in here. That's one thing that I will always be fond of the EFF, man. That people that I never thought are going to love politics or even speak about politics started speaking about it in jail.
And it was a form of decolonization. Getting us, it was a gimmick, it was a brand, but it means a lot to people to be like, we are dressed in the clothing of the people we represent. That speaks volumes. We're not here in a suit and a tie as if we're representing the business class of wherever. It's the ordinary men and women on the streets. That was really powerful. So I voted for them then.
Yeah.
Then you fast forward to 2021, and from 2019 to then and to now, the way the EFF has moved has disappointed me.
Okay.
A lot of the things I loved about them, I still love about them. Even today, when people have racist incidents, when people are frustrated, when people want a militant black voice, you look at Lumfanwaka Tambo, who's there, young guy. These are, as an oppressed black child, they feel like they're speaking for you. I don't expect Cyril, for a black child that's struggling, suffering, to come and speak on their behalf. I expect him to be diplomatic, to try and understand the white side,
all sides,
the black side. Look, we're sorry, we're working on.
He's a president.
But the EFF is like, this is a poor black child that you're oppressing here. You can't come and think this is your country. You don't run this country anymore. We have struggled. My parents have struggled. They used to clean your houses and you're coming to give us nonsense. You're like, this person gives a black child confidence.
Yeah.
They get to go out into the streets and be like, I'm going to call the EFF here.
And people got scared.
And that's a real thing. And it means something. And I think a lot of white people, whether they're racist or not, whether they think the EFF is dodgy or not, they need to understand how important it is for people who lost their dignity to have people that feel like they speak for them. Because the ANC doesn't do that. It's one of the reasons people loved Zuma. Zuma sounded like he was speaking on behalf of people. Because when rich people here elsewhere were speaking, it'd be like, no, Avela Khulumi Zulu.
Yeah.
And you're like, you realize this person's speaking to us. But we can't hear him. Yeah. It's because we've been speaking your colonial language. And many of us don't understand it. But you don't hear us. When this guy speaks to the majority of, because it's the most spoken language in the country, when he speaks to us, you have a problem. You realize that you've still got a racist undertones. Why can't he speak his Zulu? It's an official language. It's the most spoken language. Why don't you know Zulu? Because I know you're English. As an example. A lot of that still holds, but I do think now that Malema doesn't believe in what he was saying as much. I do believe that the nationalization, we want the land, is in the same vein that the ANC was campaigning and fighting against apartheid. The way he lives his life, the way he moves, it's personal. It's an individual. Many people defend him.
Okay.
But I would still prefer more. I mean, you've got Ulax. He's not a politician, but he still chooses to stay at us. Still chooses to be with the people. Malema are living a very, very affluent life. And he almost, whether it's intentional or not, he almost gets black people to have issues with Abelung. Yet he's comfortable and friends with Abelung in his personal capacity. Now, Nelson Mandela would be the same. In my personal capacity, these are my friends. You're like, but when it comes to crunch time, are you sure you're going to snub your friends and think for us that voted for you? And chances are you might not. Because we don't know this guy's friends. We don't know his business associates. And the same way the ANC has given tenders and those things to their own circles, I'm only expecting the EFF to do the same. Number one, because they're from the ANC Youth League. Number two, because I do think they're an ANC 2.0. Just younger. And then later on, when they get older, they're going to be like exactly those guys. To try and explain, guys, the situation is not like that. We mustn't be too aggressive. But this is not who. And then we'll be looking for the next young. Again. So I'm not comfortable and I'm not happy with the EFF. I don't want to give them my vote. Some of their decisions for some people have left a bitter taste in their mouth, giving some of their votes to ETA against the ANC because the ANC is arrogant. But history will judge us. And I'm like, if you're willing to give the DA your votes here, just on principle.
So nationally,
what would stop you from giving Ongamla your vote at any given time where it feels like the right thing to do against the wishes of your people?